Hi, this is Goshka from Service Civil International. And in this recording, I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks for better online events. We're going to focus on solid online group dynamics and how to support healthy and successful online environment for the teams we are leading, managing during our work camps, during our training courses, long-term projects, various types of online events. Why such a topic? Well, let's start with some famous quote. First of all, we tackle this topic because teamwork makes the dream work. And in whatever online activities you might be leading, you surely want to create good dynamics, positive spirit, and also good effects of your teamwork. And therefore, we are going to tackle a few topics today on in our recording. First of all, a quick glance at what team dynamics actually is. Then we'll move to human needs and also have a look how a Greek philosopher connects with Google and what you can learn from that. We are going to also have a look at how to keep the team motivated even in the online times. And last but not least, we'll have a closer look at the different stages of group development and how it applies to online events. Well, and then we'll finish with the chocolate and answer this very important question: how can chocolate bond the nations? Ready to start? Okay, let's go. A quick reminder, by group dynamics, we mean a system of behaviors and psychological processes occurring within a group. So it's then intra-group dynamics or between groups, intergroup dynamics. Here we'll focus on intra-group dynamics, so the dynamics within a group. And before we jump into the different phases of the dynamics and how to support them, let's us emphasize that it all starts with human needs. Maybe not those recent very valid needs of the pandemic, where toilet paper became the need number one, but well, there are a number of others that we need to consider within our online workshops and work camps. And the picture I'm showing you, you probably have seen it many times, the famous Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He claimed that all us humans have different types of needs, and some of them are more basic, those ones at the bottom of the pyramid, and some of them are more superior, and they can happen only if the basic needs are taken care of. Now, there can be, or there is, some criticism of Maslow pyramid of needs or the hierarchy. In the evidence-based learning, some people criticize his research, so please don't get too much stuck to this pyramid. But in general, whatever concept you might be looking at, you will always read or watch that every human has different needs, and those people with various needs, they also come to your online events, to your online workshops, training courses, work camps, and you need to think as a facilitator and trainer how to take care of them, how to help your participants have their needs fulfilled. So always think of the various needs your participants are coming in with. Are they there to learn? Are they coming to make friendship? What do they need to have their security needs or safety needs fulfilled? And try to structure the process in a way that allows for it. We'll still come back to it, but here also one more inspiration for you and a bit of homework. Please check at the website of the Center for Nonviolent Communication the inventory of needs and the inventory of feelings used in the nonviolent communication, because it's really a diverse list that helps you also to understand that it's not only safety, food, air that people are looking for, but also a bit of fun, creativity, development, etc. And now let's move forward to our Aristotle Project by Google, and let's learn what this ancient philosopher wanted to tell us and how Google used it in their recent research. Aristotle said that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And this is basically what teamwork is about. You want to achieve more, you want to have this effect of synergy. So Google, starting in 2012, began to make a research within their teams, and there were almost 200 of them, trying to understand what really makes a team effective, what makes it perform the best, what makes it really a team that you want to replicate across other parts of the company or simply outside Google. And after having examined more than 250 factors, trying to find some patterns within teams that really worked well, they were quite kind of surprised, because at first they thought that what is needed within a team is maybe to have some diversity, maybe to have an introvert, an extrovert, maybe somebody with more experience, somebody coming from less experienced background, people coming from different paths of life, and that will work. But actually, what they found out was that there are 5 factors which matter the most, and number 1 is absolutely a must, a basis. So this number 1 is psychological safety. If you want your participants work well with each other, you need to provide them a feeling of psychological safety, meaning that they can trust others, they also feel trusted, and also that there is empathy within a group and there is open communication. So we can still think at a later stage what could be those activities that support psychological safety. But you can also think already now, what are you doing in your online events to support this safety feeling? Then number 2 was dependability. And that was the ability to have things done as agreed, so to keep to the agreements, and also to have some accountability mechanism. So if people say that they will do something, they do something. If you say your session will start on this day at that time, it really starts. If you promise something to the participants, you really deliver it. So you can learn from Google and try to somehow transform these factors from the Google Teams into your work of an online facilitator or leader. Then number 3 was structure and clarity. Everybody needs to know the norms, the rules, also the aim, the framework, and this is also something you should strive for in your online courses. So it's always useful to invest some time in presenting some rules, aims, and ways of how you intend to have things done. Then number 4 is meaning. It's a meaning to an individual. It means that the topic we will be dealing with is important to the person that is involved in the team. Again, thinking about your online events and think if you are having participants for which or to which the topic matters, or maybe you're having just a group of totally random strangers who are because you had some empty spaces and you filled them with random people. In this case, it will be difficult for you to have a well-performing team because people will not see meaning for them. And also ensure to explain what benefit it could give to each individual. So how your workshop, how your event, how your training course, how your work camp can support each individual, what kind of meaning it might give. The last of the 5 most important factors is impact. Impact, it means influence on the broader environment. It can be a company, it can be an organization, it can be a group or society or community, so even the world maybe. So again, you might be thinking, is what I'm proposing to the participants meaningful in the sense of having an impact on the external world? For example, in SCI, we have some online work camps where usually led by some branches like SCI Switzerland or SCI Austria, and they have work camps on Wikipedia for Peace or Wikipedia for Women, where participants create new articles online for Wikipedia on various peace-related topics. And they really see that they have impact on something very important. So the level of motivation is already very, very high. Again, try to look in your online events for this broader sense and the impact that you might be creating. Have a look at the Google results more or internet. It's very interesting to read about it. One more time, Aristotle Project by Google. But we will move forward. And one more factor I want to emphasize is about or connected with motivation. I was asked several times, oh, Goshka, how to keep the group motivated. We have a number of sessions and, people sometimes don't arrive on Zoom. How to really make them attend all the sessions when, I cannot just knock on their room and tell them to come and arrive in the training room. And I really have little power over that, people are said. So here I would propose to have at work and research of Daniel Pink, who wrote a number of books. One of the most famous one is Drive, and he's also a TED speaker. So again, you might Google his name. And he basically claims that the times of the carrot and stick approach are long gone. We are not in industrial times anymore, and this way of motivating through threatening or giving awards is very limited. So the effects, it can be effective in very small amount of cases, particular cases, but for creative work, for teamwork, for probably the events you're organizing, this motivation should come from a different source. In this case, I would really recommend having a look at Pink's 3 factors of intrinsic motivation. So of the inner motivation that he claims are super important to take care of. And it's also your responsibility as a leader of an online event to think if you have these 3 factors embedded in your event. The first factor is purpose. So if the purpose, the aim of why you are meeting online, if it's valid, if it's also useful, and if it's concrete enough for the audience, for the participants to understand it. You should be also looking for autonomy, so a bit of freedom for the participants to choose, for example, various methods of ways of doing their assignments, their task, or maybe the time when they can do the assignments. Maybe you can also propose various times for sessions, and again give the choice to the group to decide what is the best for them. And autonomy, of course, it implies that there is trust from your side as a facilitator and that you're giving ownership to the group. And this feeling of autonomy will really awaken intrinsic motivation in a participant. But there is also the third factor that is super important, and it's mastery. So we all want to get better at things. We want to ourselves, we want to be simply even sometimes repeating various tasks, but in a better way. And again, think if what you are proposing to the participants is challenging enough. Are they learning or are they getting bored? But also, is the level of the challenge set at the right, the right height, or is it too difficult and therefore it's unmotivating? So these are all the three factors that you should be looking for in your online event. And if also the participants notice them, if they can find them, you can be sure they will attend your sessions, no matter what time the sessions are, or no matter how intense they are, unless really they have something super important and urgent in their offline life. So with all these concepts in mind, we can move to the clue of our meeting. So stages of group development. Bruce Tuckman was or is a person that is really well known for his 5 stages of group development. He was claiming that every group or team can go through 5 various stages. Here on the slides, you can see the pre-stage, when it's just various people somewhere in the world, and only then that when they come together, the first stage of forming will start. Forming, it means the group will start to form itself, to build a team out of a group. But in any team, after this a bit of a honeymoon of forming, there can be the storming period where the conflicts appear and arise, and there is tension, there is the strife for power. There, the norms are being rediscussed or maybe established, and it can happen in a group. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but in an ideal situation, the storming phase should lead to the norming one. I say in an ideal case because, of course, there are groups which after the storming phase might simply collapse and disperse. But we are speaking of the development that leads to performing. So there is also norming on our way, where norms are finally confirmed when there is the group spirit appearing, when people know each other, when people want to work with each other, when they are motivated. And this will lead us to performing, where the teams are really independent, where people are happy to work, where they bring results which are really visible. And it's basically the stage you probably would like to stay in the longest time. The last stage of the group development, according to Tuckman, is adjourning. Adjourning, it means saying goodbye, saying farewell. It's in your online event, there will be a moment when your team group says goodbye to each other, the project has ended, and you can also support the group as a facilitator during this stage to help the group go through the various feelings they have saying goodbye to the new friends. And small notes, not every group will go through all the stages. It's possible also to go back to, let's say, storming from performing if something happens within the group or if a new member arrives. So it's not always that linear. If you want to learn more, there's Uncle Google waiting for you. And here I just want to show you in which ways you can support your group on those various stages of group development, group dynamics, in online events. Surprisingly, or maybe not, ways to support the group in online events is kind of similar to standard offline events that we were proposing to the people before, but they just take a different form. So in the forming stage, when people come together, you will propose name games as well, as in, let's say, traditional training course or meeting or a work camp. But remember that in the online world, it's more difficult to hear, to listen because of the connection problem. So, for example, when I do some training courses with people coming from various countries where the names are not that obvious, I always ask participants to introduce their names, but to repeat them 2 or 3 times. And I ask the other participants to repeat them as well in front of their computers, even if they are muted. So I would say, my name is Goshka. Goshka. You hear this she? Now repeat Goshka. And in this way, people also, other participants get confident with pronouncing the names because they know my name is Goshka and not Goska, Goshka, and others. So this is one thing you might try. You might introduce icebreakers in online events. And of course, if you have 5 or 7 participants, it can all happen in one room, so that people explain where they come from. Maybe they show how is the weather like outside the house, so they show you with the camera how it's going. But if you have more participants, you might also organize speed dating in smaller breakout rooms. If you use Zoom, that's really easy, but also other platforms now offer breakout rooms. So for 5 minutes, you put 3 people together in a room, and you always give them some tasks, like first of all to introduce themselves, then to ask or explain what they do at home, and maybe the third thing, just to have a freestyle conversation. You might also invite them to share what they do, what their dream is, etc., etc. So here, breakout rooms will allow you to have the group make some personal bonds with other participants. You can also organize a gallery of participants, so an online space where people upload their photo and a small description. So every participant can always go back to it and see, okay, who this person is. And also each participant has a feeling that they introduced themselves properly. And a gallery of participants, I like to upload on Padlet. So this is a tool that I find really easy, but of course you might have other platforms that you love. Well, in the forming stage, of course, at the beginning of your online event, introduce the aims of the event and the process behind it and a framework. Allow people to share expectations, fears, hopes, and oops, that was my cat changing the slide. But we are back to forming. And you can also, you should also present group rules, especially when it comes to things which are not so obvious, like in international environment, the perception of time might be an issue. What it means that we start at 5 o'clock. In some cultures, it might mean, okay, I will connect at 5:15 without a feeling of any guilt. So again, you should explain really with big attention to every detail, how we will work and what the rules are. Now, at this storming stage, when it happens, when there are some conflicts, when the honeymoon is over, when people start to express clearly their needs, and also when the needs are sometimes clashing, so there is a bit of tension in the group, you can do a number of things. You can again show the slides with the aims and rules to remind the people what we as a group agreed for. You should also organize regular reflection sessions. And there are many ways to do it in an online way. You can propose after each day of work, maybe 15 minutes of smaller reflection groups in breakout rooms. You can also prepare an online place like a Jamboard, Google Jamboard, or a whiteboard at Miro, or a space at Murali that allows for collecting feedback and also proposals for the participants how to go forward. There should be also space and encouragement for active listening. And this is something that you should simply support as a leader of the group, and also show with your example that you're always there to listen actively. You can paraphrase what others are saying. You can also make a note that because of the connection, not everything is so understandable. So again, let's maybe repeat things. Let's make sure if we understood each other well. You can also try various nonviolent communication techniques, and you can simply try to understand what people's needs are. And in this way, you can also decide how you or the group might cater for these needs. Then, in the stormy phase, it's also useful to organize informal and fun moments. So those things that somehow drag us away from conflicts or tension and just allow us to have common time together. Just please remember that in the current times, we are very much tired with online meetings. So don't exaggerate or over exaggerate. Don't organize too many of them. Everybody wants to have some time away from the screen. Then the feedback, as I already said, you can collect it on Jamboard, Mira, etc. But you can also prepare a Google form that is always there for any type of feedback to the trainers or about the topic, and analyze it with your team, with your facilitators team regularly, and also think how you can adjust the situation or adjust the process so that it really caters for the needs of the participants and at the same time aligns with your goals and your aims. And then in the storming phase, something that is also connected with active listening, give people time to discuss. Give people time to express opinions, to find about differences and come to common conclusions. Because if you say now you have 5 minutes in breakout rooms to discuss this topic, it can only cause frustration. So it's better to have less topics, be less ambitious. It's not now. Now it's not the time for productivity. It's a time for bonding. So let people discuss longer times, but at least they will come to common ground, and it will help them to simply perform further as a team. So now going to the third stage, norming. This is the moment when simply things calm down, and we have this light at the end of the tunnel. We start to set and agree on various rules and norms. Things are also clear. We know the other people, so we are slowly getting down to work. To keep this nice spirit, here I encourage you to do fun things together. There can be online singing, and it can really create a lot of fun, especially with the various speed that Zoom brings, or the voice, or any other online meeting tool brings the voice. That would be a very asynchronous. Then you can also invite people to take a picture with a similar object. So you ask everybody to bring a piece of nature, and you take a Zoom picture, or again, Microsoft Teams picture, or anything else that any other software you are using. And in the end, you will have maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 30 faces, smiling faces with something similar that creates this sense of unity. You can also try more informal meetings on platforms where it's really the participants that decide how to behave, with whom to talk, and the Gather Town is one of them. I really encourage you to try it. Here, you can already propose more often work in small groups, again, to encourage this bonding and learning how to work together and how to get the results together. Here also, I would suggest that you help the group to have quick wins, so that they get a sense of accomplishment, achievement, so that they see that things are progressing, because everybody likes to perform well. So those small wins help the group to get happy together and work with each other together well. And once you have those small quick wins or other results, please display them in the online world. So again, a Padlet gallery might do, or Facebook or Instagram. Share them so that the participants can be proud with and see really what they have achieved. Plus, additionally, on Facebook or Instagram or other social platforms, the participants will be able to share it and get even prouder with what they have achieved so far. Now, this our dream stage, the stage of performing. You might be having an event where, after some time, the participants really work together very well. They are already kind of independent from the trainer or leader, and here your task is basically not to disturb people's creativity. So to organize the process in an appropriate way, set up some online spaces for effective teamwork. And here there are so many innovative tools. So also to ensure that the boredom doesn't creep in, you have, of course, Google Docs that you can collaborate together, like spreadsheets or documents or Jamboard, but also you can do things together in Canva, in Miro, in Murali. You can also try some things from Wordwall. It's, if you Google online tools for collaboration, you will get a number of really great tips. And we also have another recording on our SEI channel on online facilitation. So have a look there for more inspiration. Then here, give as much freedom, autonomy as possible. People already know how to do things. They are independent, so you don't need to be the nanny, the babysitter. Just give space. You can still, of course, propose to informal moments, but also give freedom for participants to come up with such initiatives. So you might also encourage them or tell them that it's also in their hands. You might, depending on the type of event, but you may also pass the torch of the leader to another participant. So maybe some participants can be responsible for various fragments of your work, for various stages or various topics, and they collect the results that they presented to each other. So you are maybe just the main facilitator collecting various pieces together, but these are smaller teams working totally independently that will bring the results. And it can all happen on one Zoom meeting in various breakout rooms, but also people can organize separate meetings themselves. And still in this stage, don't forget about moments of reflection and feedback, because the circumstances may change, and there can be always space for improvement. So this process of monitoring of how the group feels is never ending. Then one day there will come the time when your task is finalized, your workshop is finished, the WordCamp is over, and you want to say goodbye to the group. And in this adjourning phase, there are still a number of steps that simply help people psychologically prepare for this moment that, our life as we know it so far will be over, and I will say goodbye to these amazing people I met. And here there are a number of things for you to take care of. The first one is, first of all, to prepare an evaluation session. So to prepare a moment to sum up all the process, to let participants express how they felt in the group, how they felt about the task, to collect any recommendations for the future. And again, there are a number of various online tools that you can be using. One of those I haven't, I think, mentioned so far is Mentimeter. There should be, I think there should be an online final party. Of course, not everybody will probably attend, but a moment like at Gather Town can help people to have the last informal chats. You can invite everybody to bring some snacks, maybe some drinks, to have them feel at ease And it should be maybe a moment with some surprises, but not too structured. Also something to help people simply have the last moments together. It's still a very good practice to provide a certificate. It doesn't need to be printed and sent. It can be something in PDF. There can be also an online ceremony where you simply show the certificate and kind of virtually hand it to the people. But also it depends on the group size, and it can be also simply appropriate that you present a template on your shared screen, and then you send the certificate to every participant, but really preferably on the same day, really, so that it feels like almost real event. You might also upload all the certificates on the Google Drive and let people open them during the session. Now, here also, when it comes to adjourning, it needs time. So give ample time for this last session, for this last online moment, because people will probably want to say thank you, and they will want to maybe share some last words. And maybe for you as a leader, it will be like, oh no, now 20 people are saying thank you. It's so boring. But on the other hand, every person needs it. They should be given this possibility to say thank you if they want to, if they feel like thanking the others. There should be some common planner ways to express how they feel. If you have a really huge online group and it's not possible to create a round, then you might try a Jamboard and then some simple plenary conclusions. But it's very, very nice to let people speak in the plenary. One of the last things on our list is to support exchange of contacts. So to think how to allow people to be in touch with each other even after the event. Because of the data protection, you are not entitled to exchange people's emails without their consent, but you might either create a spreadsheet or a Padlet or a document online where people can write their email or maybe share a link to their social platform. So whoever wants to stay in touch, they can. And last but not least, in this adjourning stage, do show the results of your work. So you show to the team what you have done, what you have achieved. It can be a nice presentation with some photos or maybe numbers, but you can also make sure that those results go on the social media of your organization so that the participants can later on share them with their friends. And in this way, you gain visibility, but also the participants somehow stay on with the good memories of your online event. All these stages, of course, require some work, some thinking, but and it's also sometimes not clear for you, where am I, number 2 or 3 or 4? But I believe that the more experience you have, the more instinctively you understand what your group will need. So everything comes with experience. Don't get too desperate about it. And now the last question, but a very important one. So how can chocolate bond the nations? Do you remember still the question from the beginning of the recording? Well, here I just want to share that in one of the previous training projects I led, we decided to send chocolate bars to participants of our training course. And we had 30 people from 17 European and African countries. So it was a risky decision, but we decided to go for that and send good quality, excellent quality Swiss chocolate. That was an event with SCI Switzerland, hence the type of the gift. And this small act really allowed the group to have a feeling of unity, because the chocolates were arriving into the post boxes of people at various times. Sometimes for some countries it took really too long, I would say, but for some others, surprisingly short. And they were sharing those pictures of chocolates in our WhatsApp group. They were super happy. They were eating it online during our Zoom sessions, and I felt so relieved when the chocolate arrived, even somewhere far further than just the neighbors of Switzerland. Like when it arrived in Kenya, I was like, yes, and it didn't melt. So you might consider in your project if it's possible to send a physical gift to every participant, because even though there are all these tips and tricks in the online work, still something small, a sign of appreciation that is sent in the traditional way, can make people really smile. And if you choose something else than chocolate, something more durable, it can be also a nice memory for the future. So think, how is your budget? How are your possibilities? And if it's possible to surprise people with something physical. And then it's up to you if you send it at the very, very beginning of the process or closer to the end. I would say it's nice to start with such a gift. So whenever you have the list of the participants, you can start sending the things. And at one of the first sessions, you can show all together and cheer all together what type of things you found, souvenirs you found in your post boxes. So I think that was it from me. I hope you will really try to reflect on this content and implement it in your online event. So you have to think what it means that there are 3 factors of intrinsic motivation, what it means that there are 5 stages of group development, and how I can support it with which tools during my workshop or work camp. Or what about the needs of the participants, and do I cater for these needs or not? So there is a lot of homework for you. I wish you good luck with your future online workshops and projects. So that was Goshka and my cat Albi that was helping me with scrolling some of the slides. Bye bye.